With big launches from big players including Samsung themselves, it feels like the Note 10 has already dropped out of conversation. I just wanted to share my thoughts on the standard Note 10 post-rush. Having had left the large phone scene a year or two ago, I was pretty excited to see that the standard Note 10 is actually a bit smaller than the previous Notes. Coming standard with 256 gigs of storage, 8 gigs of RAM, I know I wouldn't be missing out by much by sticking with the smaller version. We can talk specs all day, but what I can say is I still have over 200 gigs free and I have yet to max out the memory. In fact, I find myself being surprised when I open an app just to see it's still in the same state I left it in a day or two ago. On the topic of performance, I have felt the need on basically every Android phone I've owned to go into the developer settings and double the animation speed. This was because a lot of phones would start to struggle with it, either subtly or in bad cases very obviously, and it would just kind of drive me nuts. Here I have yet to see a bad transition. It sounds pretty small, but it says a lot for how much Samsung has polished their previously offered overlay. On here and on my Tab S4, I have been happily surprised with the new One UI, and it definitely doesn't hurt to have top tier specs. When it comes to the cameras, I am not a big mobile photographer, but the rear cameras are solid and the ultra-wide camera is useful. If you want leading class photos, you might want a Pixel or iPhone still. But in terms of the front-facing camera, it is nice and sharp. I love the autofocus, although I wish it was a bit wider because with third-party apps, you might end up having to hold the phone up a little bit farther than you're used to, but overall, pretty solid. When it comes to the screen, I'm still not a big fan of the curved edges, but they sure do look nice in video and photo. Now, the screen overall looks amazing, and let's talk about the hole punch. Now, I didn't think this was going to bother me too much, but occasionally it does, so I use a third-party app to hide it. As you can see over here on the right, basically just blacks out the top versus the other one on the left. And you can easily toggle that, and the app is called Nacho Notch. Coming around to battery life, it hasn't been super amazing, but it hasn't been terrible. It definitely lasts me a whole day, but I don't think it'd be getting me much more than 1.5. Having things like wireless charging though is pretty nice, so I don't think this is a huge concern for me. Getting around to one of the big features of the Note, the S Pen, it feels as good as ever, although I can't say I've really used all of the gimmicky motion controls. One thing I do like is that this works on my Tab S4, which means I can leave the bulky, big Tab S4 S Pen at home, because this one I can simply store in my phone, so I don't have to worry about carrying two. Awesome. In terms of getting around the phone, I really love that there is a built-in hidden navigation option. The implementation is simple, simply swipe up from where the buttons would normally be. This, along with my favorite third-party app, Edge Gestures, I have had zero issues getting around, and I'll leave a link to that app if you want to learn a little bit more. I'll quickly go over some of my gripes in an effort to bookend this. I really wish this was a tiny bit smaller just so it fit better in my hand, but I know that's going to be a likely unpopular opinion. And of course, the 3.5mm jack is not here. RIP, the industry just doesn't care anymore. Since this phone's release, there have been lots of other launches and some really exciting ones, and I'm really hoping that this is going to be my last standard phone, and my next one will be foldable as long as those prices come down. Now, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below. Follow me on my socials, and otherwise, have a great day.